I would like to extend a warm welcome to members of the Council, officers and members of the public and press in attendance at this Council meeting on the 13th of July 2026. Welcome to those who may be watching the meeting live on YouTube. I am Councillor Dave Penny, Chairman of the Council. Please note that this meeting is broadcast live on the Council's website and on YouTube. It will remain available for a minimum of 12 months. Please switch any mobile devices, including laptops, to a silent setting for the duration of the meeting. If the fire alarm rings, please can everyone leave the room immediately and use the nearest signed fire exit. Please go to the fire assembly point located at the bottom of the car park by the garages. Chief Executive, do you have any apologies to report?
Apologies for absence have been received from Councillors Blunden, Mbala, Miller and Sutherland. Are there any other apologies?
Ian Murray.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 1, minutes. Do members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of May 2026 are a correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any other declaration of interest in connection with an agenda item for this meeting? Thank you. Agenda 3, Chairman's announcements. Since taking office in May, I have represented the Council at various events across our district and the wider Hampshire area. These have included civic events, award ceremonies and memorial services. I have had the absolute pleasure of attending the all-staff event, Wow, That's What I Can NFDC, on the 17th of June and presented the Chairman's Award at the Leaf Awards ceremony to a very deserving member of staff. My congratulations to all the nominees, winners and also the team involved in organising an amazing event that was celebrated our brilliant staff. Another highlight was the raising of the Armed Forces Day flag here at Appletree Court, along with the representatives from 17 Port and Maritime Regiment. I was also honoured to represent our district at the National Armed Forces Day hosted by Rushmore Borough Council on Saturday the 27th of June. Agenda item number 4, leaders' announcements. Leader of the Council, do you have any announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I do. I recently got back from the Local Government Association conference held in Bournemouth last week. It had a really good buzzy feel to it across all political parties, with lots of workshops to attend, including discussions on topics as diverse as improving housing, planting trees for the environment and neighbourhood governance. It was lovely to touch base with fellow councillors from all parties, and as you can guess, the main topic was LGR and devolution, and what other councils are doing and how we are all coping. I must add, it appears we're doing very well, especially about keeping our staff informed. And in every opportunity I got, I did mention that we are not happy with the decision to split the forest. I am also one of the 6 Conservative representatives for the Local Council Network, formerly known as DCN, which was District Council Network. This is a cross-party special interest group of the Local Government Association and represents 169 unitary and district councils in England. We are working with LCN to promote awareness of the complexities of district disaggregation, to lobby government for better understanding, and to build networks to enable the sector to better address our shared issues. Turning to our district, I would just like to thank all our teams who, even in this heatwave, have continued to support residents, businesses and our communities across the area. I would also like to encourage community groups, charities, schools and other organisations to apply for funding, with up to £100,000 available to support infrastructure projects from 2027. This funding is available through the Community Infrastructure Levy, and applications can be submitted until the 7th of August. And finally, I know I said this at Cabinet, but I wanted to tell you that I was very proud to attend our recent staff event and awards ceremony. I spent a joyful few hours reading through nearly 100 fantastic nominations that were put forward for an award. It really was one of the most heartwarming things I have done. We have an incredible team here at NFDC, and it was a privilege to acknowledge so many services, an outstanding individual who supports residents and makes this district a wonderful place to live, work and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, report of Cabinet, 3rd of June 2026. Members, dealing first with part 1, I will call each item to see if any member wishes to speak on those matters resolved by Cabinet. Item 1, local government reorganisation response to decision petition legal counsel advice and the council's strategic approach 2026 to 2028. Are there any speakers? Thank you. Item 2, Community Grant Programme 2027 to 2028. Are there any speakers? Thank you. Members, moving on now to part 2, I will call the relevant Chamber members in turn to move the recommendations for Council. Item 3, Local Government Reorganisation Programme Mobilisation. This report has 4 recommendations resolved by Cabinet and also 2 recommendations for Council. Before debating the Council recommendations, does any member wish to speak on the Cabinet resolution set out on page 24 of your agenda pack? Thank you. Members, a supplement was published on Friday in relation to this item. Please refer to the page 3 of this supplement, which details an amended recommendation and a new recommendation since the Cabinet meeting was held on the 3rd of June. The amended recommendation proposes Jill Cleary to be the Council representative for the South West Future Unitary Authority. This recommendation also seeks the Council's approval of the leader being given delegated authority to make any appointments of deputy or substitute members for both joint committees. The additional recommendation proposes to delegate authority to the Chief Executive to agree terms of reference for these joint committees. Members, will you also be aware that Councillor Malcolm Wade would like to propose an amendment to the recommendation 1 to appoint Councillor Mark Clark as the Council's representative for the South West Joint Committee. This was also published as part of the Council supplement and can be found on page 5 of this pack. I will first call the leader to move the recommendations, which will be seconded. I will then call Malcolm Wade to move the amendment, which will also be seconded. I will then call speakers on the amendment. Members, please be aware that at the end of the debate on the amendment, as this is a contested position, I will ask officers to conduct a secret ballot between the 2 nominees, Councillor Jill Cleary and Councillor Mark Clark. At the conclusion of the ballot, I will then take the members to any further debate before concluding with a vote on a substantive motion. Councillor Cleary, will you please introduce this item and a recommendation for an addendum?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report to Cabinet in the supplementary pack, page 3, refers.
Councillor Steve Davis, will you second this?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade, would you like to move your amendment?
I would be delighted to, Chairman. It is the amendment in the papers recommending that Councillor Mark Clark replace Councillor Cleary on the South West Hampshire Unitary Joint Committee. Would you like to address it now, Chairman? Excuse me. We're towards the end of the council. The old manoeuvring for position on future elections is not relevant anymore. The political games of the past are not relevant anymore. We should work together for the benefit of our residents, for the benefit of our staff who've worked on this authority for decades, and for doing the right thing. This is not a criticism of the leader standing for this joint committee. She's also on the joint committee for the Mid-Hants, where she represents voters. And I'm sure she will work hard to do that. But she does not represent voters on the waterside. She is not the voice of the waterside. She doesn't hear the people of the waterside, and therefore she can't represent the people from the waterside on this panel. We as a council are going through a very complex and complicated split, and we need to be able to say we reflect and represent the people we represent. Councillor Mark Clark, one of our long-standing members and experienced, has experienced this manoeuvre in the past on a previous authority. He has understood some of the challenges that we are going to face. This is about qualification and democracy. Councillor Mark Clark represents a ward in Hythe, previously represented a ward, Hardley and part of Hythe. So he has represented a large area of the community. He represents the voters that put him there. He represents the waterside. Councillor Cleary, because she is a member for New Milton, does not. And that is the reason. This is about democracy. The county council, and I don't often quite compliment the county council, they approached this from a different direction. They appointed local members based on local voters. And actually we could learn from that, because from a democratic point of view, that's the right thing to do. Councillor Cleary was voted by the people of New Milton, but she wasn't voted in by the people of the waterside. Councillor Mark Clark was. He can be the voice of the waterside on this committee. He's got the experience of understanding some of the complexities involved as well. So he is the ideal choice for our residents to put in for this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harrison, will you second this amendment?
Yes, Chairman, and I'll speak now if I may.
You certainly may.
Thank you. I support the motion to appoint Councillor Mark Clark as this council's representative on the joint committee. Our responsibility today is to appoint the person who is best placed to represent the interests of the communities affected. This should not be a party political decision, nor should it be about job titles. It should simply be about selecting the right person for the role. Councillor Clark brings exactly the experience and local knowledge that this position requires. As a long-standing resident of Hythe and Dibden, and through years of representing the area as a councillor, he has developed a thorough understanding of the communities that will be most affected by the decisions of this joint committee. That local insight is invaluable. Good leadership is not about one individual taking on every responsibility. The strongest leaders recognise the strengths and expertise of those around them and are willing to entrust important roles to colleagues who are best placed to carry them out. Delegating in this way is a sign of confidence, not weakness. Finally, Mr. Chairman, this joint committee has a clear purpose: to help shape the future arrangements for local government. It needs representatives who are prepared to engage constructively with this task, working positively to secure the best possible outcome for the residents. For those reasons, I believe Councillor Clark is the right person for this appointment, and I ask colleagues to support the motion.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? But I will be going to Councillor Mark Clark first. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, I want to speak briefly on why I'm asking for your support to represent the waterside on the LGR Joint Committee. And I do find it quite strange to be asking you to sit on a body which will be defunct in 2 years' time, not directly the electorate, for permission to represent them. This isn't, to my mind, a decision that should turn on party lines particularly. It's a decision about who's best placed at a critical and fast-moving stage of this process to protect the interests of a huge part of the district's population. The residents of the 4 settlements who face Southampton Water and the wider waterside. And if the A326 development goes right through, it's the biggest car park in the southeast. I've served on the council since 2019, or this council. I've spent a decade on Hythe and Dibden Parish Council, where I'm currently chairman of that particular council. And before that, 33 years ago, I served as a county councillor on Berkshire County Council. At the exact moment it was abolished and replaced by new unitary authorities. And why was that? Because a big sprawling council which had completely lost touch with its residents. And I wonder whether that might all sound rather familiar to us. I therefore probably believe I'm maybe one of the only members of this chamber who's lived through a local government reorganisation and the chaos from the inside as an elected member, and come out the other side to tell you exactly what protects the community interests in that process. My patch was Thatcham, bless it, and it's now part of West Berkshire. And what doesn't? I also live on the waterside, walking my 2 dogs from my home. I can have a coffee in my hand and watch the cranes work and the cruise ships arrive. It's in the blood. That matters because committee we're discussing will shape decisions on warding, on how assets are divided, on how governance is structured, that will directly affect where I live and where my family lives, and where my 4 sons all live, all in the new unitary, and where thousands of your residents live too. So I'll feel the consequences of what that committee decides in a way that not every candidate for this role will. I know that some of you, particularly my colleagues opposite, will already be thinking, Eastleigh, Eastleigh. That sits alongside us in the South West Hampshire, already returns a good number of Liberal Democrat councillors, and that putting another woke Liberal lefty on this committee somehow hands the whole enterprise over to one party. Somehow that's been translated into the equivalent of Hannibal's hordes coming across the Alps and marching on Rome. Well, I understand that concern, but I look at it squarely. He beat Roman armies again and again on their own soil, and he never took Rome. So a new dynamic will exist in South West Hants of competing demands from very different areas. Let's face it, Tess Valley in there as well. The waterside will need to robustly stand up for itself. It's an angry orphan at the moment, and it needs a place.
Thank you. Can I wrap you up, please?
Yep, certainly. A large number of councillors of one colour on one part of the map does not translate into control of a brand new organisation with its own rules, its own committee and its own balance of power. I live there. I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Councillor Jack Davies.
Thank you. My input is very simple. I do not live on the waterside in Totton. Therefore, I have not put myself forward for the South West Joint Committee. I do live in Mid Hampshire, where it's going to be Mid Hampshire, and so I am a substitute member on that joint committee. I think it's really important that the people who serve us on these joint committees represent the areas that they serve. There's no point, I'm afraid, Jill, and I like you a lot. It's why I haven't challenged you for the Mid Hampshire thing, because you are a Mid Hampshire councillor, and I hope I'm going to be a Mid Hampshire councillor. And so that makes sense. But the South West nomination needs to be a South West councillor, or a councillor who will be in the South West Authority. Councillor Mark Clark is experienced, understands this already through his previous roles, and I think is common sense to nominate someone who actually lives in the area to be on this joint committee because they're the ones who are going to have to live with the consequences. And I think our residents expect us to take a sensible approach to this, not a partisan approach to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Glass.
Thank you. I hear from the newcomer on the other side, he's been on the parish council for about 20 years. Okay, 36 years on our parish council. So, but I still wouldn't think that Councillor Mark Clark is the right person, because I remember when he had Hardley as his ward, the amount of ward work I had to do over the ward boundary from my ward in Holbury. So I wasn't impressed with that. But what we do need is someone who is really known by the people we're dealing with. That is the big nibs all around the Hampshire County Council, the new areas. And I can't think of anyone better known than Jill. She knows the history, she knows the people, she knows the manoeuvring that's gone on before, and I personally could not back this recommendation at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Rackham.
Thank you. Mark Clark is such a capable councillor, and he has all that experience that he's just outlined to you. He's been through this before. So, Councillor Cleary, I'm so sorry. I understand that you're a very capable councillor, but we absolutely need someone, we need to utilise that experience that Councillor Clark has. Also, the Waterside is in such an incredibly vulnerable position at the moment, and we need somebody who truly understands and has lived the issues that the Waterside presents. So please join us. This is absolutely not a party thing. We have someone with the experience that we can all use in order to get the very best for our residents on the Waterside at such a vulnerable time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Heron.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Councillor Cleary has as both the portfolio holder for housing and now as the leader, has fiercely represented the whole of the New Forest. Unfortunately, in my opinion, Councillor Clark does not have the understanding or the depth of knowledge for this role. I am certain that in Councillor Cleary, we have chosen the right person. I should also point out, again, in my own opinion, that Councillor Clark's views are not necessarily in tune with a significant number of the residents when we look at his postings on his social media and the number of signatures from the Waterside on the petition to keep the forest together. And I can assure him that, like him, I can stand and drink a cup of coffee outside my daughter's house and see the whole of the Waterside, so I am equally invested in how its future goes as I make the decision to support the leader of this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alex Wade.
I think we all can, because it's quite high where we live. I can from my house. It's a competition. How many boats can you see? I can see all the water from the top of Hollybank. Put it this way, if Malcolm put himself forward to represent the West and New Milton, I would tell him to jog on, because he doesn't live there, he doesn't work there, he hasn't grown up there. Councillor Cleary who actually, to be fair, I think has done a very predominantly good job on LGR, and the whole thing is apolitical. And one of the things where we as a council have voted together, worked together, and arguably had to defend ourselves against other people accusing us of what we're not. And that's why on this, it's not a political point. It's very simply down to, I do think, to continue that message that we're sending to our residents, is that you've got someone who proudly knows the West, who engages the West on the town and parish council in the West, lives there, understands there, and then someone the equivalent on the East. Councillor Clark has an amazing ability of just chatting to people through his job, throughout with the dogs, engaging people, all sorts of conversations of all sorts of political backgrounds, and comes up with all sorts of casework and feedback from the residents that we would all absolutely dream of doing. And he is someone who I think will be very capable in the role, will give a lot to the role, and it reflects well that we treat LGR apolitical because we're all being impacted equally. None of us want it to happen, and I just think it sets a good precedent. And I've put a note here to say 2 new things are going to happen this month. We're going to vote together for Councillor Clark, and England will win the World Cup.
Thank you. Councillor Thierry.
Thank you, Chairman. With regret and deep regret, I cannot look out of any window in my house and see Southampton Water. You know, I do realise now that I am in a deprived position, much the same as I am in this council when you stop to think about it. Essentially, all councillors are equal. No councillor is more important than any other councillor in this council. You may have additional responsibilities. That does not make you more important than any other councillor. This is not a one-man, one-woman council. We need to arrive at the point where those kind of barriers, those kind of concepts no longer have any relevance at all to this council, which is in its demise. We need to be working together rather than thinking that because we have a blue rosette, a yellow rosette, a green rosette, a white rosette, or a pale blue rosette, or in my case, none at all. We need to be working together. I do believe, looking at what we have heard, that Councillor Clark is the right person for this particular function. With all due respect to the leader, I would have thought she had more than enough to deal with in the demise of this council to be wanting to taking on additional work and additional tasks, particularly in an area for which she did not have any interest at all in the first place. Councillor Leader, I invite you to withdraw your nomination. It would be the correct and honourable thing to do, to withdraw your nomination so that a person from that particular area of the forest is then able to represent the whole of the council. Please withdraw.
Thank you. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Chairman. It's rare that I find myself disagreeing with Councillor Thierry, but on this I feel I must, I'm afraid. There's been much talk about one council, one forest. Sadly, this proposal, it seems to suggest one party's interest above all else. My understanding is that Councillor Wade, who proposed this amendment, and Councillor Harrison are already on this board by virtue of their positions at Hampshire County Council. So therefore, we would have 3 Liberal Democrat representatives on the board for the Waterside. So one party's interest being served above all else. That cannot be right. I will not be supporting the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade, can I return to you, please?
Chairman, yeah. Members, this isn't about a person. It's about representing the people that live there. It doesn't matter. And I don't think Councillor House is on this committee, by the way, just to correct you there. This is about representing the people. Councillor Cleary represents the people in the west of the forest because that's where her ward is. Councillor Clark represents people in the Waterside because that's where his ward is. What look do you want this council to give to the residents of the New Forest? We have a joint committee, excuse me, that is focused on the Waterside, Southampton, Eastleigh and a bit of Test Valley. So who are we going to put to represent on that committee? A councillor from New Milton. What do you think the residents of the Waterside are going to think of that? What do you think the residents of the rest of the forest are going to think about that? We should be working together to put the right people in the right places to get the best benefit. And then I said, this is not about people. I think Councillor Thierry articulated that very well. I was very impressed by that. We are all the same. We may have different responsibilities. We may have different parties. But this is a time at the demise of this council when we should be working together to get the best result. The residents of the New Forest should see us working together to get the best results. They should see that happening. If you do not support Councillor Clark, the people of the Waterside will know that this administration puts politics before representing people. The people of the New Forest in general will see we put politics before representing people. The person that represents people in the Waterside with the experience to do it is Councillor Clark. Let us show we throw away the old ways and work together to get the best results for our residents, our staff and our authority by working together and having this decision, this recommendation accepted, and Councillor Clark representing this forest on the Joint Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cleary, would you respond as the final speaker to this debate?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to. I hope you all see that I am not just a councillor from New Milton. I am the leader of the council, and therefore I have been privileged for the last 18 months from its inception to work through this LGR with the LGR board. I have chaired the Waterside Steering Group, which involves tons of outside representatives from the Waterside area. I know them well, they know me. I work with leaders across the Hampshire and Isle of Wight LGA. As I say, I've led this development from the proposal. We didn't want it. I know the ins and outs of how we didn't want it and what we proposed to do with option 1 as well as option 1A. I can speak as one forest voice on both unitaries so that they have equal representation, so that one doesn't have more of an advantage than the other. I have a balanced view. I have a balanced political view. It's not about scoring political points. I will be working with multi-political parties on both sides. Malcolm does have a place due to his county council on this unitary, or what will be a unitary, and I look forward to working with him on that unitary. If he feels I am at a loss to understand the Waterside, I am sure he can help me, but I don't think I am at a loss. So please, I would really like your support so that I can speak with one voice on both unitaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, officers will now conduct a secret ballot in relation to the appointment of Joint Committee representative for the South West Future Unitary Authority. Councillor Jill Cleary and Councillor Mark Clark have been proposed. Officers will hand out ballot papers. Please can I ask you to clearly write the name of the person you wish to vote for.
Yeah, members, just to clarify, officers will be handing out ballot slips to you. The two nominations are Councillor Jill Cleary and Councillor Mark Clark for the South West Joint Committee. Please clearly mark your ballot paper with either Councillor Jill Cleary or Councillor Mark Clark as we work through the ballot process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have Jill Cleary, 23 votes, Mark Clark, 20 votes.
Jill Cleary is the
So Jill Cleary is the South West Committee representative. Members, is there any other further debate on this LGR item? Thank you. Members, I will now ask officers to take the electronic vote on the substantive motion, including the delegation to the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just to be clear for members, having agreed Councillor Jill Cleary as the Council's representative on the South West Joint Committee, you still have a substantive motion that includes the delegation of authority to the leader to make appointments of deputy and substitute members, and that second recommendation in connection with the terms of reference being delegated to the Chief Executive, to agree with the in consultation with the leader of the council. So that's the substantive motion, both those two taken together. Thank you. Can I just check if all members have voted? There is an abstention button if you want to abstain. There are a couple outstanding. If you could just check for me, members. Okay, sending that result to you, Chairman, now.
Thank you. The numbers are 37 for, 4 against, and 2 abstentions. Thank you. Item 4, New Forest Economic Development Strategy 2026 to 2030. This report had one recommendation to note: the feedback received on this strategy and the focused consultation, and one council resolution. Does any member wish to speak on this cabinet resolution? Councillor Alex Wade.
Obviously, the substantial nature of it we would all support, as it's much needed, and the link with the skills plan. But I felt a lot in it reference the need of accessible, sustainable, environmentally friendly transport. But there were no answers or solutions. It was very much a case of it's not our responsibility, but there was no opportunity for the council or whatever's left of the council and future authorities to go and be a voice and represent and be proactive in speaking to those who it might be responsible for to improve transport, be it bus, be it ferry, be it other aspects and cycle routes to the towns and villages that need that access in our communities, because it is a long-standing issue in my ward since the ferry went, that they lost business coming from Southampton and tourism, for example. And I'm sure across the district, one of the challenges we do have is poor public transport within the centre of the forest. So I do think it's linked for staff getting there and indeed for customers and visitors there to have a better public transport. And however this strategy can be used proactively to push for that, it needs to, because I think it does play a key part, and it's referenced a lot in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rackham.
Thank you, Chairman. Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Did you say Wade or Rackham?
A bit deaf.
Sorry. Yes, I'm rather disappointed by the lack of mention of the cultural aspect of the economics that could be such a big factor in our local area. It's mentioned as a key growth sector, and then after that, it's barely mentioned at all. It's not mentioned in the SWOT analysis. There's mention of strategic partnerships, but nothing about which cultural organisations might be involved in those strategic partnerships. So I do find that rather disappointing. I understand that there's a cultural strategy that's being formed at the moment, but what's going to happen is that we will have this economic strategy with nothing about culture really defined in it. So I find that rather disappointing, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Councillor Malcolm Wade, please.
I heard you then. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I've raised this before when we talk about strategy in economics. I'm going to raise it again. We have year on year an increasing number of children qualifying for free school meals because their families are in poverty. Yet we are oblivious to it and blame it on someone else. How can we as a district say we have a great financial strategy when we have poverty in existence, in pockets, in our communities? Not all, but in pockets. We have areas of deprivation equal to top 10%. What will our legacy be as we finish? Well, we've got a great economy, we're doing all this. Oh yeah, we've got increasing poverty. Every year, more and more come on. We don't do anything, it's someone else's fault, it doesn't get done. Don't you think we ought to think of the people a little bit more in our remaining years on this council? And look at how we can work with other authorities like the county council to try and address this to some extent. There used to be on this council, we talked about fuel poverty. This is quite a few years ago. That's never gone away. In fact, it's worse now, but we don't talk about it anymore. And some of you that have been here long enough will probably remember we used to talk about that and discuss it. But actually, child poverty is worse because these are the next generation. And surely our legacy should be to do something for those young people in the remaining years of this council to try and improve it, working with other agencies. I know it's not our responsibility alone or at all, but we could do something, working with them to improve it for them. So when they go into the new unitaries, 2 unitaries, they're in a better position then than they are now. And Alex's point about sustainable transport, surely those of you that live in the Midford, you know, with transport round the edges are okay. Across the middle of the forest, it's minimalistic, right? That is something that we should need to also look at. That's a very raised point. But I mentioned about poverty because it's important and we need to consider it and ask that this be looked at going forward in the remaining time of this council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've sort of got a bit ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
So if you go to Councillor Tipp.
Councillor Tipp.
We had the same sort of debate at the scrutiny panel, I remember, a couple of weeks ago. And I pointed out then, and I'll point it out again now, that the best way to get people out of poverty is to get them into work. And that's what our economic policy is designed to do. So we're trying to get people back into work. We're trying to get people who are not in employment and education into useful work. So I think that's the best strategy, and that's what we're working on.
Thank you. Councillor Tipp, will you please introduce this item and recommendation from Cabinet that the New Forest Economic Development Strategy 2026 to 2030.
Yeah, we're coming. Sorry.
We are coming back to you. Be approved by Council.
I so move.
Councillor Steve Davis, will you second it?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Davies.
Thank you. There's a lot of, and I understand there's a lot of light touch stuff in here about kind of desires and general overall policy, because obviously you get, 4 years and 2030 happens and we're in a different situation. I understand that. I don't see anything in here about not just towns, but villages as well. And I think there's a lot about Lymington, Totton, about the waterside, and a lot of it is stuff that's been rehashed from before. So stuff like the Freeport and stuff like that, that's been knocking around for ages. What I haven't seen is something that I'd like it to is linked to a deprivation action plan of some kind, to look at those areas where my ward, Pennington, has a significant number of people accessing free school meals and number of children accessing free school meals and families in poverty. And it's the same in areas of Totton and Hythe and Dibden. And I don't see enough in here about linking the need for economic growth with the desire to lift people out of poverty, which I think goes hand in hand. And I'd like to see more in here, not just about a bit blasé terms about towns, but looking at the granular detail of, for instance, Lymington is not Lymington, it's Lymington and Pennington. And actually you've got employment space in Pennington that is needing renovation and revitalisation. And it's actually often the case that it's not the town centres themselves that need the most significant input and work. It's those areas in the villages adjoining those town centres, because the villages are the ones that don't have the free market ability or the free market able to go in and buy up stuff, because there's not the incentive there for free enterprise. So I would like to see a closer relationship between the council's emerging economic strategy and a desire to lift people out of poverty. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognise that a few members have spoken already on this matter. Is there anything else that people want to say on this matter? No? Thank you. In which case, can I ask Councillor Tipp to respond as the final speaker of this debate, please?
Well, I think that this economic strategy is working, is very comprehensive, and I think that it will help to get a lot of people back into work, hopefully. And it's also working with employment, with employers, to help employers to take on extra staff and to give them training and how they're going to respond. So I recommend it.
Thank you. Members, we will now go to the vote on the recommendation to approve the New Forest Economic Development Strategy 2026 to 2030.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As you said, this is for the approval of the New Forest Economic Development Strategy. The options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. That result with you now, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you. 33 for, 8 against and 2 abstained. Thank you. Agenda item 6, reports of Cabinet, 1st July 2026. Members, dealing first with part 1, I will call each item to see if any member wishes to speak on those matters resolved by Cabinet. Item 1, corporate plan, key performance data for Q4 2025 to 2026 and the target refresh for 2026 to 2027. Are there any speakers? Thank you. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Malcolm.
Chairman, I'll say this once, this will go to the corporate plan, which we'll talk about next. How relevant is this when we're moving into LGR? Do we not need to revisit the corporate plan to deal with some definite changes that are going to take place within the next 2 years due to lack of resources and the dynamics of the LGR process? And I would suggest, and this is not the first time I've mentioned this, and I know we're very busy and we've got a lot to do, but we really do need to look at perhaps a transition corporate plan into the 2 new authorities, because that is a sensible strategy to get the best results, because everything we do is geared to the corporate plan. So it needs to reflect the situation that we're in now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Cleary, can I ask you to respond?
Thank you, Councillor Wade. I will look into that. Your points are noted.
Thank you. Item 2, corporate plan annual performance report 2025 to 2026. Are there any speakers? Thank you. Item 3, Annual Complaints Performance and Service Improvement Report 2025 to 2026. Any speakers? Thank you. Item 4, Housing Annual Compliance Report. Any speakers? Thank you. Item 5, SAMP and Action Plan Progress Update. Any speakers? Thank you. Members, now moving on to part 2, I will call the relevant Cabinet members in turn to move the recommendation for Council. Financial Monitoring Report, Provisional Budget Outburn 2025 to 2026. This report had 3 recommendations resolved by Cabinet and also 3 recommendations for Council. Before debating the Council recommendation, does any member wish to speak on the Cabinet resolution detailed on page 92 of your agenda pack? Malcolm, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, once again, we have a positive variance. Once again, we have underspends, and once again, we get extra income. Well done. Excellent. Let's try and use that wisely for what we're trying to do in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Wade.
I meant to ask this point actually, in resources and transformation. The £500,000 for the staff retention reserve, I do appreciate it's a figure that has been come at, but it's a difficult figure to actually calculate. But I wondered if, through LGR discussions, if we could have we could compare to other similar authorities and if they're doing the same thing and what amounts they're doing. So it'd be interesting to compare.
Sorry, you're speaking on a recommendation, not the actual. Thank you. But we will come back to you. Councillor Heron, will you introduce this item and a recommendation from Cabinet regarding approving the allocation of the provisional outburn of 591,000 to create a new staff retention reserve of 500,000 and that 91,000 be allocated to enhance the corporate priorities reserve to approve that authority be delegated to the Chief Executive to draw down funds from the staff retention reserve to cover the cost of the retention arrangements in accordance with the adopted market supplement policy by Council and to approve increasing principal repayment of debt within the HRA by 800,000. Please note that the final recommendation was omitted from the report of the Cabinet and therefore please refer to the Cabinet report with recommendations for Council which are on page 96 of your agenda pack.
Chairman, thank you. As the ramifications of LGR come through and we see an ever-increasing cost associated with it applied to this council in new and exciting ways, I should say, I am delighted to propose the recommendations as set out in the paper.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Davis, will you second this?
Very happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Alex, sorry, come back to you. Thank you.
I'm sure Councillor Cleary got my question, but it is, as I say, it's a problem that we're going to have and other councils are going to have, and as probably in an area of the finance that Councillor Heron probably wish we didn't have, but it's a necessary evil in the current climate. But I think it would be quite good to compare ourselves against similar authorities about how they're doing it, and that's a good opportunity with our LGR discussions, because obviously those relationships will be built up. Because we might need more of it, we might not. We don't know. So.
Thank you. Members, this item is now open to debate. Are there any speakers? Thank you.
Chairman, I think more than Councillor Cleary, that's possibly an area in which I would like to comment. And the fact is that we are somewhat in a unique position. Test Value has got a few nibbles taken out of it, but it has not significantly come under division. It will still fundamentally go as a whole unit into the new authority. The only people who are facing such a carve-up, and even more so, is Hampshire County Council. And it is very difficult to relate what we do to an organisation of that size and the responsibilities that it holds. We're therefore going into uncharted territory. Indeed, the local change in Bournemouth and Poole and Christchurch amalgamating didn't see such things. So I can't even look back at historic data and ask our chief exec, who has some experience of that event, how she sees it. We have put a sum aside. The only thing I have discovered with LGR is however much I put as a reserve, they somehow managed to throw more at us that's going to cost even more. It is a figure that I hope will prove adequate and sufficient to deal with the challenges, but there is little to target against it so that we can make any real, true, informed decision. It is a rough and ready calculation. What I am certain is that other areas of LGR will require more funding, so if there is any underspend, it will be greatly received and repurposed still within LGR. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we will now go to the vote on the recommendation to approve 3 recommendations contained within page 96 of the agenda pack.
Thank you, Chairman. As you've outlined, the recommendations on page 96 for Council for A, B, 5 and 6. Options for, against, the alternative being to abstain. Okay, Chairman, that result with you shortly.
Thank you. 41 for and 2 abstentions. Thank you. Agenda item 7, questions. Members, there are 12 questions. A reminder, we have a total of 30 minutes for this item. Any member asking a question who is not in attendance will have their questions dealt in writing, as will any question falling outside of the 30 minutes. Questions to portfolio holders for environment and sustainability will be answered by the leader in his absence. Each question shall be put and answered without discussion. Each reply should be no longer than 3 minutes. I will invite each member who has asked a question if they have one supplementary question arising from the answer, which could be dealt with in a maximum of 2 minutes. Question 1. Councillor David Harrison to the portfolio holder for Environment and Sustainability, Councillor Geoffrey London.
It's not here.
Are you listening?
Occasionally I do. I do listen.
It's an age thing. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman. I am sure the leader will understand that Totton is an exceptional place. Why then won't the council make an exception and suspend car parking charges in the town centre for a couple of hours on a Sunday morning so that the popular car boot sale can take place on the town council run War Memorial Car Park?
Councillor Cleary.
Thank you for your question. We all recognise Totton as an important and distinctive town within the district, and the importance and the value local services and third sector organisations bring to enhance and support local initiatives. Parking charges contribute towards the ongoing costs of maintaining, managing and enforcing our car parks. Suspended charges, even for a limited period for 8 days a year, create inconsistencies in the charging structure and clock payment scheme and impact the ability to enforce non-compliance. Engagement with the event organiser and trustee of the car boot was undertaken prior to any decision being made, alongside the extended offer to meet with the event organist and town council. Whilst the offer was not taken up, an extension allowing the car boot sale to continue through June was provided. Members will be aware that car parks provide free parking 3 days a year in support National Small Business Day and the last weekend before Christmas. In addition to this, a 4th day is selected by each town and parish council to support local community initiatives. In 2026, 157,500 in community grants and 98,000 in capital projects have been supported. To further strengthen support for local initiatives, the Community Lottery has already raised over £14,000. The supplementary question will be responded by the portfolio holder in writing outside this meeting.
Do you have a supplementary question?
Well, I do have a supplementary to the response I've just had, which is I look forward to receiving the answer to my supplementary question, but also I look forward to educating the leader when we join the joint committee together about the very special nature of Totton, the challenges it has, and the fact that nobody benefits at all from the current policy. Point of order, am I supposed to be interrupted by, we're all equal, are we not?
Yeah, we are all equal, but I think we get your point, thank you.
So the question really is, does the leader fully appreciate the strength of my position, which I know is supported by the other Conservative councillors in Totton?
Thank you very much. Question 2 from Councillor Jack Davies to the portfolio holder for Environment and Sustainability, Councillor Geoffrey Blunden.
Thank you, Chair. It's Councillor Jack Davis. Just to, yeah. It's spelled Ease, but it's pronounced Is. Question 2. So to the leader, residents in Howardsmead and Pennington have had regular issues with the build-up of waste in communal areas ever since the introduction of alternate weekly collections. Has the council noticed such increases in communal bin areas? If so, what action is it taking to address that?
Councillor Cleary.
Generally, the implementation of fortnightly waste has been well adapted to, with the vast majority of communal premises having no issue with the collections. There are some exceptions to this where we are seeing poor recycling and bulky items dumped at the bin stores, which leads to non-collection issues, either due to us not being able to accept the materials or physically not being able to access the bin stores. Where there are issues, we are engaging with residents, managing agents, housing, residents' associations and other relevant representatives to address the issues with good levels of success.
Thank you. Councillor Davis, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. You say that generally that communal premises have adapted well and the vast majority have adapted well. Is it just Pennington that seems to be having the issues then? Are other councillors, are other parts of the forest having issues? Because I've noticed, or I've been asked repeatedly by residents in pretty much every communal building in Pennington about issues they're having with the new, not so much new waste collection system. So can I be reassured that it's not just Pennington that's having these issues and that it's other areas as well?
Sorry, I do not know the answer to that, but I will get Jeff Blunden, the portfolio holder, to respond to you in writing.
Thank you. Question 3 from Councillor Caroline Rackham to portfolio holder for Environment and Sustainability, Councillor Geoffrey Blunden.
Thank you. I'll withdraw the question because it's obviously such an important issue that it's been asked already. And I'll maybe send a copy to Councillor Blunden in the hope that I can get some other answers from him as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 4 from Councillor Carl McCarthy to portfolio holder for environmental sustainability, Councillor Jeff Blunden.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I'm sure that Councillor Jeffrey Blundell is glad not to be here tonight with all these questions. But I would like to forward a response anyway. But for as long as I can remember, the New Forest District Council has provided parking permits at Bath Road Car Park in Lymington to the Lymington Town Band, so they do not have to pay for parking when they perform at the bandstand. However, it has recently decided to scrap those permits. Does the portfolio holder agree with me that this decision betrays the purposes behind the Council's emerging cultural strategy?
Councillor Cleary.
I want to place on record the Council's appreciation for the Lymington Town Band and the significant contribution it makes to the cultural life of Lymington. The band's performances at Town Council Bandstand are enjoyed by residents and visitors alike. I and my fellow councillors remain committed to supporting cultural and community organisations across the New Forest. The purpose of the cultural strategy is to support and encourage culture, heritage and community participation across the New Forest. It is not in itself a commitment to provide specific concessions or exemptions from council charges. In the management of public funds and assets, we also have a responsibility to ensure that any concessions we provide are fair, transparent and consistent with our published charging structure. I would remind my colleague that member grants can be utilised to support their local town council-led initiative, covering participants' administrative costs.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. I do have a supplementary question, if that's okay. First of all, I'd like to put forward my disappointment to this council. In fact, that the Town Council of Lymington and Pennington, we did request that the asset transfer be decided for Bath Road Recreation Car Park, first of all, which was denied, which I'm very disappointed to hear that. But my question really to the leader for this purpose is, you mentioned there about the grant system that we have, but the grants that we have from a cultural point of view, we would like to implement that to the local charities. Now, the bandstand is not a charity as such because they play to local people. I would like to ask this council if they could actually review this decision and overturn this decision, due to the fact that they only use it on a Sunday for a couple of hours on a Sunday for local people, so that they can actually enjoy that. And I'd actually request that from the council.
Councillor Cleary.
Thank you. I will get Councillor Jeff Blunden to respond to your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Question 5 from Councillor Mark Clark to portfolio holder for Finance and Corporate, Councillor Jeremy Herron.
Councillor Herron, I'm obviously aware of the discussion we had earlier this evening, but it's the second part of this question really. What provision is being made in the Council's reserve for the direct costs of transition, legal redundancy, systems rebranding, and how is it being tracked, particularly against budget?
Thank you. The Council has already resolved to place £2 million into a significant LGR reserve. At the 31st of the 3rd, 26, the balance on that reserve stood at 1.85 million, signifying the use of 150,000 from the reserve in 25-26 financial year. The spend is being overseen by the LGR board, which includes senior officers, the leader of the council, the deputy leader, myself, portfolio holder for finance, and indeed Councillor Malcolm Wade. This reserve is primarily there to support the council's own internal costs associated with LGR and has been used to fund the internal shared costs of the commissioning consultants. The Hampshire-wide Section 151 officers have been working collectively on a set of principles to cover the broader implementation costs that will also arise. There will likely be a requirement for the council to contribute further to LGR, and decisions around the funding will be taken in this chamber at the appropriate time. although one of which I think I can rule out is rebranding. I think that will be the new authority's choice, and I would be very disconcerted about putting money into that.
Councillor Clark, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman. Will there be a standing out with the to the committee? Will there be a standing update to the scrutiny committee, say quarterly, so members can track actual spend against provision as transition progresses, and obviously consultancy ka-ching?
All expenditure will go through the usual channels and will come back and be available to all members and be scrutinised, as with all aspects of expenditure within this council.
Thank you. Question 6 is from Councillor David Miller, who will have a response in writing as he is absent this evening. Question 7 from Councillor Alex Wade to portfolio holder for Environment and Sustainability, Councillor Jeff Blunden.
How many requests for additional waste bins have been received from Phase 3 residents? How many have been accepted by NFDC waste advisors? And in addition, how many requests have been refused and later allowed following residents making a complaint through the standard process?
Thank you. Councillor Cleary.
There have been 1,891 requests for additional capacity received for Phase 3. 90 have been refused. 3 were later approved following a corporate complaint. All of those chose to provide further information at the complaint stage than they did at the initial application, allowing for a different outcome within the same policies.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Alex Wade?
No, because I think Jill's answered enough questions, and I will contact Councillor Blunden, who has planned his absence well.
Thank you. Question 8 from Councillor Hilary Brand to portfolio holder for Environment and Sustainability, Councillor Jeff Blunden.
It has been brought to my attention that NFDC are reviewing the business waste service. Please can you explain the scope of the review and the intention?
Thank you. Councillor Cleary.
Thank you, Hilary. Following the modernisation of the domestic services, a review of the business waste service has been conducted with original work on this ongoing. The review considers whether the service remains legally compliant, given both recent and upcoming legislation changes, as well as whether it remains both effective and competitive in the current market. It is intended that the report is taken to Place and Sustainability Overview and Scrutiny Panel later in the summer to ensure that councillors have the opportunity to scrutinise the information gathered and the officer recommendations.
My question would be, when this is being looked at, will the economic and development strategy be reviewed at the same time as its themes of championing key growth sectors, accelerating low carbon transition and revitalising towns and local communities will all be impacted by this if it is removed, making it harder for businesses to save money, having to spend more, potentially having many more bins driving around from different companies to pick up rubbish, therefore creating higher carbon levels, and have a holistic view, please.
Councillor Cleary.
Once again, I will get Councillor Blunden to respond to your supplementary.
Thank you. We now move on to second questions. Question 9 from Councillor Mark Clark to portfolio holder for Finance and Corporate, Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Here we are again, Councillor Heron. As I stand with my cup of coffee looking up Southampton Water, how will the disaggregation of New Forest District Council assets, including land, building and housing stock between Mid Hampshire and South West Hampshire be determined? What's the criteria? And will members see options before those decisions are made?
Thank you, Councillor Clark. A question I often ponder whilst drinking my coffee. The dedicated assets workstream within the overall LGR programme will play an important role in considering the appropriate methodology behind the disaggregation of assets. We will, of course, have to consider proportionality across the two future unitary authorities, but it is likely that, generally speaking, the physical location will influence, in most cases, as the right proxy for the disaggregation of assets held by this council. Work is not yet far enough underway, however, for me to comment on the specifics within that with a degree of certainty at this time. Ultimately, the basis for disaggregation will be a decision for the shadow authorities and not for this council. As with the rest of LGR programmes, all members will be kept up to date and informed of the progress. I will go on to say that obviously there is certain disparities within our assets. I mean, a very simple one that immediately comes to hand is the £8.5 million that we spent on Hardley Depot and the £700,000 spent on Ringwood Depot. Both depots dealing with our waste, slightly different figures. So it is a complicated and difficult process that we will be going through.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, the supplementary is the elephant in the room, in your word, proportionality. How is that going to be worked out, particularly when the cash cow of the refineries and all the other ratepayers on the water side moves over to the South West Hands? I'm very interested in how you're going to find that.
Within the rate paying and the recovery of funds, I think that they will indeed travel with the area in which they are. I don't think that there's anything that would warrant changing that. Indeed, anything that generates within an area, it will stay with that. So the revenue generators in most places, I think, will remain within the physical location. The divulgence is difficult where general fund money has been used to buy and pay for assets owned by this council, and how they are sorted out and split between the two up-and-coming authorities.
Thank you. Question 10 from Councillor Caroline Rackham to Portfolio Holder for Community Safety and Wellbeing, Councillor Dan Paul.
I was saddened to hear about the end of Forest Forge Theatre Company recently. What action could New Forest District Council take to ensure that other cultural organisations in our area are more protected from a similar fate?
Sorry, Councillor Paul.
Thank you for your question half an hour ago, Councillor Rackham. I too was saddened to learn of Forest Forge's decision to close after 45 years of serving communities across the New Forest, reflecting the increasingly challenging funding landscape and operating environment faced by many cultural organisations. Whilst the Council cannot guarantee the future viability of independent cultural organisations, it can continue to play an important role in supporting the sector. The Council has led the development of the Creative and Cultural Framework, which provides a shared vision for culture across the New Forest, helping to define the district's ambitions and priorities for the sector. Importantly, the framework strengthens the case for both internal and external investment by demonstrating a clear strategic direction and ensuring that funding opportunities are aligned with agreed local priorities. Discussions are currently taking place with representatives from the creative and cultural sector regarding the future governance of the framework. The Council's role will be to champion culture at strategic level, support partnership working through a future steering group, and use the framework as a guiding document when considering funding and investment decisions. Through this approach, the Council can continue to advocate for the value of culture, encourage collaboration across the sector, and help maximise opportunities for future investment in the district. There are also currently a number of programmes taking place across the district to support local businesses, many of which operate within the creative and cultural sector. These include helping organisations access skills development opportunities, funding programmes, business support, and collaborative projects that strengthen resilience and sustainable growth.
Thank you. Councillor Rackham, do you have a supplementary?
I do. So what you're really suggesting is that organisations spend time working on the cultural framework and how that's going to work, but without getting paid, which is exactly the issue. And I wonder, is it not possible to attach a budget to the strategy or the framework to support and enable organisations to do that work locally, and also to work locally more in our district, because at the moment, most of the money that they're getting in terms of local government money is from further afield. Thank you.
I would just say that our key partners involved are already voluntarily helping because they recognise it's in their best interest. And we are already investing financially in it. This is a great deal of officer time. We support Culture in Common and the other partners greatly. We offer them office space here at Appletree Court. So we are already supporting the sector.
Thank you. Third questions. Question 11 from Councillor Mark Clark to portfolio holder for Finance and Corporate, Councillor Jeremy Heron.
Will council tax be harmonised across the two new unitary areas immediately from vesting day? Is that the plan, or phased in? And what's the anticipated impact on New Forest residents, both left and right?
Thank you, Councillor Clark. If I drink much more coffee, I'll be up all night. The approach of council tax harmonisation will be a key decision for the shadow authority of the respective future new unitaries. That is not being established until May 27. It is therefore difficult to comment on any anticipated impact, as I simply don't know. What I will say, however, is in urban New Forest, as I prefer to refer to it, some others have got some other names, which I'm sure is the area you're particularly concerned, average bandy council tax for NFDC is £2,365, Southampton £2,381, and Eastleigh, he wrote the wrong figure down, but it's all right because he's still got it somewhere, is £2,352.91. So they are not hugely disparate. Obviously, the difference being that Southampton does not, within that precept, have a parish within it. However, if they do harmonise, Fawley, at the highest winner of £2,462, might get a discount.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Do you have a supplementary?
No, I don't. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor.
Thank you. Right, on to fourth questions. Question 12 from Councillor Mark Clark to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Cleary.
Yeah. Can I offer my congratulations to Councillor Cleary for the committee, please? What discussions have taken place with parish and town councils about their future role and funding relationship with the new unitary authorities, given they will sit below a much larger tier of local government? Because if there has been some, I haven't seen any.
Thank you, Councillor Cleary.
Thank you for the question. Parish and town councils have a vital role in representing their communities, and that role becomes even more important as local government moves to a unitary structure across England. The government has spoken about the importance of neighbourhood governments as part of its wider devolution and community empowerment agenda. In other words, larger councils must not mean more remote councils. There needs to be a meaningful local voice and influence below the level of any new unitary authority. We have engaged parish and town councils through briefings, stakeholder discussions, and direct conversations as LGR proposals have developed. Those discussions have recognised the important questions that reorganisation raises around local influence, funding, assets, service relationships, and community identity. I have previously pressed for greater clarity from government on the role it expects town and parish councils to play within future neighbourhood governments arrangements. And I would be very happy to continue pressing on that point. It is not enough to say that local voice matters. We need to understand how that voice will be built into the system, how responsibilities may work, and how any funding or support arrangements will be handled. The detailed future relationship would ultimately need to be developed by any new unitary council in consultation with parish and town councils. But my position is clear. They must be treated as key partners, not as an afterthought. Any future model must recognise that parishes and towns vary significantly in size, capacity and ambition, and it must provide a fair, flexible and transparent framework for local engagement and influence. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, is there supplementary?
Just a brief one. Can you reassure us that in the various committees you'll sit on, that parish councillors or parish councils who don't have the representation on there won't basically get the fag end of the deal without money following anything that falls out of the agreements that are made?
Councillor Cleary.
Thank you. I promise you I will do my very best to work with parish councils, town councils. I will make every single case I can to get the best for them. They are important because they are going to still be the first touch base of the local electorate. And that is important to take care of. You have my word.
Thank you. Now that concludes the questions. So we move on to agenda item 8, the allocation of seats and appointments to committees and panels. We will now consider the report and the appendices detailing the proposed allocation of seats and appointments to committees and panels. Councillor Cleary, would you like to present this report and its recommendations, including Appendix 2, detailing the names of the individual councillors to be appointed to the committees and panels? This was published as part of the supplementary council agenda last week.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I would like to move this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davies, would you like to second it?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry? Yeah. Members, this is now open to debate. And there are any speakers who are ahead of me.
Thank you.
Councillor Davies.
Thank you very much. This actually, my point came out about as a bit of a humorous Facebook discussion with Councillor Dunning, which they often are humorous, mainly because if I didn't laugh, I'd cry. But in terms of this particular point, is it worth making members aware of what committees they're on? Because obviously, if you're allocating members to committees, if a councillor doesn't happen to be on at the council meeting at the time, they might not know they're on a committee and have quite a significant absence. So is it something that you might be willing to remind councillors they're on committees?
The monitoring officer will consider the point.
It's in the pack.
It's been circulated.
The monitoring officer will consider your point. Thank you. Are there any more questions? No? Speakers, sorry. Councillor Cleary, would you like to respond as the final speaker to this debate, please?
Desperately trying to find the pack. Can you ask me again? I've had a tough evening this
Sorry.
evening.
Would you like to sum up, please?
Right. We will take your comments on board and I will respond accordingly.
Thank you very much. Members, we will now go to the vote on a recommendation to consider the allocation of seats to committees and panels and the appointment of councillors to individual committees and panels.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Recommendations are that the Council considers the allocation of seats to committees and panels. Appendix 1 sets out the allocation to each group. And for members' benefit, the appointment of individual councillors to committees is at Appendix 2. So that details Councillor Jack Davis's question. So that's with you now for voting. Councillor Dunning, I understand there's an issue with your voting unit. Are you for? Thank you. And then we'll close the vote on that basis, Chairman, and pass to you. So that's 41.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you. That's 41 and that's carried, please. Right, and one abstain. Agenda item 9. Any other items which the chairman desires are urgent? There are none, apart from the photograph, please. Members will be having a group photograph taken outside in the grounds of Appletree Court. Please can I ask members to go outside and stand in the usual place in front of Committee Room 1. I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you so much.